And the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, went to my adopted hometown today, Sacramento, California, to tell them they're nuts. And announced federal government lawsuit against California, sanctuary states, sanctuary cities. Details of both of these are... And by the way, the way California's reacted to this is fantastically funny. You've got to hear this. Back in a sec. Meeting... Damn screensaver. Just a second. As I was saying, meeting and surpassing all audience expectations every minute of every day. America's real anchorman, Rush Limbaugh, behind the golden EIB microphone. 800-282-2882 if you want to be on the program. Here is another, call it area, institution, tradition that is under a full-fledged, all-out assault by the American left, and it has been since 1965. And that is the border. The American left is attempting to obliterate the southern border of this nation. The American left wants no limits on who can come into this country from where. Their preference is for people who are not educated, who are in poverty or otherwise very poor, and who cannot speak English, and therefore who do need handouts from the government in order to live, in order to survive. And the Democrats want to be seen as the people making that possible. Illegal immigration is an issue the Democrat Party stands for. Illegal immigration is an issue that the worldwide global elite stand for. And they are mounting an all-out effort to see that it happens. From this, we have discovered what have been called sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. And these are states and cities that knowingly and proudly violate federal law and allow illegal immigrants, including the criminal element, to run free and remain free from federal law and federal law enforcement. These governors and these mayors are in wanton violation of federal law, knowingly and purposefully. There can only be one reason for this: a desire to dilute and water down the dominant culture of this country since our founding, which for some reason they despise, they are threatened by, they fear and oppose. This dominant culture, which created this exceptional America, is under assault from many fronts, but none as important and focused as illegal immigration. Now, you know the drill on this. For the longest time, both parties were trying to essentially make it possible with their various comprehensive immigration reform plans, which granted amnesty to those here illegally under the false lying premise that they would then secure the border if we would just grant amnesty to the 12 or so million or however many it is. We did this once before. We did this in 1986. And it was called Simpson-Mazzoli. And we were told that was 1.8 or 1.9 million who were granted amnesty. And we were told by the Democrat organizers, and I had a Republican sponsor, Alan Simpson of Wyoming, and we were told that this would be the end of it. We'd then secure the borders, and no more would we be plagued. And now we're up to 12 million and are demanding amnesty again. And both parties went along for it because both parties found a political benefit to this particular group of people being allowed entry into the country with impunity. Republicans had their value, their uses for them. The Democrats had theirs. Both parties had dreams of registering these people as new voters, but Republicans never stood a chance at winning on that score. So they became valuable as low-wage workers. But the damage is being done and has been done by virtue of the assault and dilution of a great culture, a great and distinct, unique American culture that derived and was built on our founding. Perhaps no greater illustration of the criminality of this is the whole sanctuary movement, where illegal people already violating the law by being here illegally, are sheltered, are protected, are provided for by Democrat governors and Democrat mayors. We've had promises my entire life from politicians to end this, to get tough on the border, to oppose amnesty. But not until Donald Trump came along has anybody meant it. Now, Donald Trump is president and is actively engaged in following through on many promises he made in this regard. The most recent egregious example is the mayor of Oakland, California, Libby Schaaf, who warned illegal immigrants in Oakland, California, that ICE agents were mounting a roundup. She told the illegals where ICE was going and when they were going to be there so the illegals could hide and avoid capture. And she did it, she said, under the premise of civil rights and liberty and freedom and the Constitution. And that's when I had my fill of it. Because what's actually happening is that constitutional rights are being threatened. Constitutional rights of American citizens are under assault. Speech, Second Amendment, religion, they're under assault. Meanwhile, people who are not citizens are being granted access to constitutional rights that do not apply to them, while citizens are having theirs denied. And there's one person in the last 35 years that stepped up and said he's going to stop it, and that's Donald Trump. So he tweets a lot. I don't care. So he picks little fights with Alec Baldwin. I don't care. It doesn't change my opinion of Trump. He would have to abandon his promise on immigration for all the rest of that stuff to matter to me and to everybody who voted for him. Well, finally, the Trump administration has seen fit to follow through on this promise and to commence action against sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. Today, the Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who was referred to by Governor Brown of California as that fellow from Alabama, went to a law enforcement conference in my adopted hometown of Sacramento and announced a lawsuit against California on the basis of sanctuary city, sanctuary state, that this violation of federal law simply cannot stand. We cannot remain a nation with this kind of thing happening. You know, it's fascinating, too, because the people of California, the sanctuary movement, they're beginning to waller around and shout about states' rights. What about states' rights? You conservatives are all about states' rights. Remember Arizona? Don't try to confuse us. In Arizona, the federal government was not enforcing its immigration law. The federal government was not patrolling the border. The federal government was not enforcing immigration law. So the governor of Arizona decided to write her own law that was passed, and all it did was enforce existing federal law, and the federal government sued them. They didn't have the right. The states didn't have the right, Obama said. They didn't have jurisdiction over immigration law, that's federal. And so Obama judges ruled the Arizona law unconstitutional and told everybody go pound sand. Now, when the Trump administration's suing California, guess what California said? You can't do that. What about states' rights? Look at what you did in Arizona. Yeah, and look at what you said in Arizona. You said states have no purview, have no jurisdiction. It's federal law. Well, the federales have arrived. Have a couple of sound bites from Attorney General Sessions. This is the California Peace Officers Association Annual Law Enforcement Legislative Day.
California, we have a problem. The mayor of Oakland has been actively seeking to help illegal aliens avoid apprehension by ICE. Her actions support those who flout the law and boldly validates illegality. There's no other way to interpret those remarks. According to Acting Director Homan, ICE failed to make 800 arrests that would have been made if the mayor had not made her statement. Those are 800 wanted criminals that are now at large in that community. So here's my message to Mayor Schaaf. How dare you needlessly endanger the lives of our law enforcement officers to promote a radical open borders agenda?
And it's not just endangering the lives of law enforcement officers. How about the lives of law-abiding citizens in Oakland or San Francisco or wherever else you can find a sanctuary city? These are wantonly violation of the Constitution. These are openly illegal. And you have Democrats defending it. This can't stand. This, we can't remain who we are with this kind of wanton, unpunished violation of the law taking place. But Rush, these are people, they're human beings, civil rights, human rights, we can't. This is where you need tough people, incredible people, to do great work and great jobs. This is not about denying civil rights or human rights or any of that. It's about maintaining the rule of law, which is the glue that holds this country together. Because sure enough, if a state or city can come along and establish itself as a sanctuary and spit on the Constitution, what's to prevent a president from doing it over and over again? What is to prevent a president from looking at the Constitution and saying, you know what, this sucks. This thing is not relevant today. I'm just not going to abide by it. If we don't have mechanisms in place to deal with this, then it's not going to stop. And that's what the left is counting on. Here's the next Sessions soundbite where he explains what he's going to do here.
The department filed a suit against the state of California to invalidate these unjust laws and to immediately freeze their effect. Federal agents must be able to do the job that Congress directed them to do. Contrary to what you might hear from open borders radicals, we are not asking California, Oakland, or anyone else to actually effectively enforce immigration laws, although we would welcome the positive assistance the majority of jurisdictions in America provide to our federal offices. We would certainly like that. But ICE agents do incredible work every day. They're not backing down. They're not going to be deterred. And we're not going to stop enforcing the law in Alabama or California either.
That's an important distinction. He made it. We're not asking you to enforce the law. We're not asking you to violate whatever stupid liberal value set you've got. We'll do it. But not if you get in the way. We're going to take you out. We're going to do whatever we can to make sure you don't get away with violating the law. Because I'll tell you, if these people, if the governor, if a mayor are allowed to get away with law breaking like this, well, the day is going to come when you're going to want to get away to breaking the law somehow, somewhere. What entitles them to get away with it? Civil rights, human rights, looking out for people of color, minorities. What entitles them to get away with breaking the law where you and I can't? Now, if that rule of law breaks down, and because you're a liberal Democrat, you get away with violating the Constitution and nothing happens to you, then you can kiss all of this goodbye. Because it isn't going to be long before people figure out that maybe they won't enforce any law after a while. Maybe it just becomes too much trouble. Maybe it's too dangerous. Maybe the political opposition is such that it's just too risky to enforce the law. So Governor Moonbeam, Jerry Brown, the governor of California, in response to this said, we know the Trump administration is full of liars. And we don't want a fellow from Alabama coming to talk to us about secession and protecting human and civil rights. I'm sure that Jeff thinks Donald will be happier with him by filing this lawsuit. In other words, Jeff only did this to get Trump off his back. Jeff doesn't even really believe this. This is the mayor. I'm the governor of California, Jerry Moonbeam Brown, and his reaction. Here is Brown himself this afternoon in Sacramento, audio soundbite 26. And these are his remarks following the announcement by Sessions of this lawsuit.
It's completely unprecedented for the chief law enforcement of the United States to come out here and engage in a political stunt, make wild accusations, many of which are based on outright lies. That's unusual. And particularly a fellow coming from Alabama talking to us about secession and protecting human and civil rights.
What did he say about secession? And this is a civil rights or Civil War reference. You want to talk about racism? What's the political stunt? The political stunt is sanctuary cities. The political stunt is sanctuary states. You are violating federal law. Openly and wantonly, and San Francisco and California are not alone. And if nobody makes an effort to stop it, well, the rule of law just goes by the wayside. A man, a legend, a way of life. Now, I'm going to tell you what the left is going to do. I'm going to predict to you right now the reaction to Jeff Sessions and his appearance in Sacramento today and the announced lawsuit. The way the left will react is to not engage on the issue. They will not mount a defense of sanctuary states or cities because they can't. What they'll do instead is start calling Trump and Sessions white supremacists, trying to reinstate white supremacy, which is how this nation was founded, they will say. What Trump and Sessions really don't like is people of color, is what they will say. Sessions from Alabama, they will wink, wants to talk to us about people of color? Ha! They will say. And, of course, Trump, they'll say, remember Charlottesville? Trump, he's one of these guys, white supremacists, likes the Nazis. This is what they're going to say. This is how they react. It's the only way they can. They cannot engage on the issue. They cannot defend sanctuary cities. They cannot defend breaking the law. All they can do is try to insult and impugn those who wish to enforce it and discredit them and thereby discredit their objective of enforcing the law. And they do it on every issue. They never engage on the issue. They never debate the issue. They can't. They won't. They either try to shut you up, they try to shut down your rally, they try to overwhelm your rally, but they will never engage. And there's one guy who stands up to them and doesn't back down from them, and that's Donald Trump. No matter what they say about him, no matter what they say about his family or people working with him, no matter what they say, he is in their face every day. So I don't care if Trump knows, Misty Morgan or whoever. I don't care, whatever her name is. Stormy Daniels, yeah, Misty Morgan, she's the babe. This is true. This babe, her bra size was so big, this woman actually took the stage with two dwarves walking in front of her to hold them up. I'm not kidding. This babe once snuck on the field at a Kansas City Royals game to try to steal a kiss from George Brett at third base. Misty whatever. But the dwarves are not a joke. They were part of the routine on taking the stage. By the way, I forgot to mention this. It's a story from yesterday that dovetails with Sessions and his announced lawsuits against California and all the sanctuary cities there. A federal judge in Northern California has declined a request from the California Attorney General to block the Trump administration's decision to withhold law enforcement grants to the state as part of its crackdown on sanctuary cities. In other words, a federal judge has allowed the Trump administration to withhold grant money from California as part of the crackdown on sanctuary cities. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is Judge William Orrick, and I think he's an Obama appointee. I'm pretty sure he's an Obama appointee. This is the same judge who back in April barred the Trump administration from carrying out the threat to withdraw billions of dollars from sanctuary states. But this ruling has allowed Trump to do so. And, you know, when money's involved, like that in Broward County, the Promise Program, when you threaten to take their money away, that's when you get their attention.